Hi, Paul. Good morning. It's Friday, the 7th of October, and here's today's heads up brief. Let's start off with the East Asia Pacific region. In Indonesia, three people died due to flooding in Jakarta yesterday. Heavy rains are expected to continue over the weekend. With regards to the stampede in Malang, East Java over the weekend, police have named six people as suspects in connection to that. This includes a couple of police personnel who authorized or didn't stop the firing of tear gas, and also officials related to the event, including an organizer who sold more tickets than the stadium could hold. Now, Paul, another thing in Indonesia that you might find interesting is that members of the Nasdem party resigned after the party this week endorsed Anies Baswedan as the presidential candidate. So it seems to be some rifts within the party. Moving over to Malaysia, Malaysia LNG, the state LNG producer, has declared force majeure on liquefied natural gas supplies to buyers. This includes Mitsubishi Corp, and this will affect gas supplies exports to Japan. Now, the declaration was because there's a leak on the Sabah Sarawak gas pipeline on September 21st. In Myanmar, Puma Energy will withdraw from the country. It is under Trafigura, a Swiss commodity trading house. Puma Energy was involved in the import and distribution of aviation fuel in the country. There is an unnamed private local company that is taking over its holdings. In Thailand, Paul, there was yesterday's mass shooting tragedy in which a gunman killed 37 people in a northeastern province. There was also a gunfight that took place between drug traffickers and Thai army rangers in Chiang Mai a couple of days ago. Um, just regarding the protest movement in Thailand, Paul, they haven't been organizing protests like they did, and a protest group did call for the dissolution of parliament and early elections yesterday, but that's about it. But we are monitoring the situation. The last thing for East Asia Pacific, in Papua New Guinea, authorities have lifted all COVID-19 restrictions for international travel. Now, shifting focus to South Asia, authorities in Pakistan have issued a nationwide alert for the threat of terrorism. This is specifically regarding the Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan. The peace talks have hit a wall, the ceasefire has ended, and attacks have restarted. So the outlook doesn't look good for Pakistan in the medium to long term. Meanwhile, in Bangladesh, opposition protests over economic issues are continuing. Now, the opposition groups are attempting to build up their momentum ahead of next year's elections, Paul. Lastly, for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, the unrest in Burkina Faso continues after the military coup over the weekend. The French government issued an advisory for its citizens in the country. Protesters had damaged part of the French embassy in the capital and also damaged property owned by Bolloré Logistics, a French transportation company. Paul, any thoughts or comments from you on today's issues?
Yeah, look, I mean, just keep an eye on in Europe. Obviously, there's a lot of protests in the wings. Just keep an eye on those, as I'm sure you are, particularly the UK, France, Italy. And just give me an update in the next few days on those as they're pending. Getting back to Indonesia, I think the fact that such carnage, such incompetency on the way that riot control, the inappropriate use of force, the inappropriate use of weaponry, the inappropriate use of CT gas. Can't help but think this is probably a token scapegoating exercise. Really, we should have seen not a focus on an event organizer, but on the regulators and on the police running that operation. That would have had probably in the vicinity of 30 or 40 operational police. And there's no high profile bringing to task, as is the case. You know, this is a police force that just had a general basically arrested for killing his chief of staff, and this kind of culture that's embedded in the police force in Indonesia, it's insidious. So just keep a very close eye on that and a skeptical eye on it. Obviously in Thailand, the lack of momentum for demonstrations for the Thai economy that's been affected by now the floods, previously the COVID, the changes in government, 15 years of red and yellow shirt demonstrations, global fuel prices affecting travel, and travel's a part of the service sector, which is 13% of the GDP in Thailand. So it's refreshing that these demonstrations are getting momentum in terms of the rest of Thailand outside of the 2% that play politics and attend demonstrations paid for crowd. The other 98% just want to get on with what is, a fun-loving, free society and without all the economic and political disruptions. So excellent brief. Appreciate it. Have a good day, mate.
Thanks,
you.
Paul. You too.